Okay, so there's this video going viral, and it's making some huge claims about a recent political crisis in Benin. The main point? It says the official story we've been told is completely wrong. So what we're going to do is break down the story that video is telling, piece by piece, to really get a handle on its pretty controversial take on what went down.
This gets right to the heart of it, right? Was this just an attempted coup, which is what the official reports are saying, or did it actually succeed for a moment, only to be turned back around? According to the source material we're looking at, the answer isn't so black and white, and that's exactly the mystery we're going to try and unravel.
All right, so here's how we'll tackle this. First, we'll look at the claim that the coup actually worked. Then, how it all fell apart from the inside. After that, we'll get into the international reaction, see how the whole thing got reversed, and finally, this is the big one. We'll get to the source's main point, a pretty serious accusation of hypocrisy.
Okay, let's dive right into the source's biggest claim. It basically takes the official story of a simple, attempted coup and just throws it right out the window. It's arguing that what really happened was way, way more dramatic.
And here it is, the core of their argument straight up. The source is very clear on this. The plotters didn't just try, they succeeded. They actually took power. The whole thing fell apart, according to this video, only after they had already won. And the reason? A classic story, really. Good old-fashioned greed.
So that's the big question, isn't it? If the coup did succeed, how on earth did it collapse so fast? Well, the source doesn't just make the claim. It lays out a very specific timeline of events, a sort of domino effect that took them from victory straight to failure.
The way the source tells it, the initial takeover was straight out of the coup playbook. Seize the presidential palace, take over the state media, classic stuff. But then came the fatal mistake, the one move that changed everything. They announced a new leader to the public, and that single act, according to the video, is what caused their united front to just crack.
And here's the tactical breakdown of that mistake. The source points out that they jumped the gun. They announced the new boss before they had rounded up all the key politicians. That left a massive opening. It meant that when the announcement was made, people loyal to the old government were still free to move around, to make calls, and to start planning a counterattack from the inside.
But, it wasn't just the infighting that doomed this thing. The video puts a ton of weight on what happened next, an immediate and really powerful reaction from outside Benin's borders.
And we're not talking about a quiet diplomatic response here. The source describes Nigerian fighter jets suddenly screaming across the skies over Benin. I mean, talk about sending a message. On top of that, ECOWAS, the big regional group, didn't just send out a strongly worded press release. Oh no, it actually started mobilizing its army.
Just so we're all on the same page, this ECOWAS standby force is a pretty big deal. Think of it like a regional army, a combined force from a bunch of West African countries. Its whole job is to step in when a member state goes off the rails, to restore order, which is exactly what the source is saying was needed here.
And this wasn't an empty threat either. The video is specific. It says troops from Nigeria, Ghana, Ivory Coast, and Sierra Leone were all getting ready to move into Benin. This was a serious coordinated effort to shut this coup down.
Okay, so you've got this perfect storm brewing, right? You've got fractures on the inside and this massive military force getting ready on the outside. So how did it all actually fall apart on the ground? Well, according to the source, it happened fast. The sequence of events here is absolutely key. So, the new coup leaders get on the radio and they ask the people to come out and support them. But imagine this. Just as you're thinking about heading out into the streets, those fighter jets show up overhead. The source argues that this totally terrified people, sending them right back inside. And that pause, that moment of hesitation from the public, was all the opening the loyalist soldiers needed to make their move and take back control. And the fallout was instant. The video says something like 13 or 14 of the soldiers who were part of the takeover got arrested pretty much on the spot. Others were apparently on the run. The whole thing was over just like that, swift and decisive.
Okay, but this is where the story pivots. Because this video isn't just about the play-by-play of a failed coup. This gets to the real point, the core message of the source, a really pointed critique about what it calls a massive double standard.
Look at this comparison the source draws. It's pretty stark. On one hand, you have the coup in Benin, and bam, immediate, overwhelming military response. Fighter jets, a regional army, the works. But then, it says, look at the ongoing long-term fight against terrorists in Nigeria. Where are those same fighter jets? Where is that same standby force? The source claims they're nowhere to be found.
And this quote just nails the feeling behind the whole video.
The narrator uses the word school here, but it's pretty clear they're talking about a coup. The accusation is powerful. It's saying, hey, you have this incredible military force that you can deploy instantly, but you only use it to protect politicians from each other. You don't use it to protect actual people from real everyday violence and insecurity.
So in the end, this whole story, as told by the source, isn't really just about Benin. It's using that event to ask a much bigger, much tougher question. What is a regional army like this for? Is its number one job to protect governments from being overthrown? Or is it to protect citizens from all threats, like terrorism? The video definitely has its own strong opinion, and it leaves you thinking about that very question.